All right. Learning about the Holy Temple will help us build the Holy Temple. It said that God said it to the prophet Ezekiel. Learning about the Holy Temple will help to build the Holy Temple. So let's learn about the Holy Temple a little bit. We already learned about the outer altar, right? The big outer altar. We learned about that. So we don't have to set pictures. You already saw how it is, the outside altar. Then, if you came in to the Holy Temple, see, I think we got a picture of it over here. So I don't exactly know how the pictures come out on the thing. That's what I did last time. I tried to do these pictures. Let's see, do I have a picture of the pictures? No, if this is where it is. Okay, that's what we got. Okay, so here we go. This thing was about 4.5 feet high. The whole, so there were 3 feet, how do you say, legs, 1, 2, 3. I guess it must have been shaped like a triangle or something here, it says 3. And then there were 6 stalks, 6, it says kanim. The word kaneh means straight. Well, there's a small sort of misunderstanding about these branches coming out. But everybody says, the Rambam says, the Maimonides says, Maimonides says Rambam, sorry, it says, Rashi says clearly, the Rebbe says, Reb Kanievsky says, they were straight. I mean, it's obvious. This is the picture that the Rambam, Maimonides, he drew himself of how it looked. Now you have to remember that nobody saw the menorah. The only people that really saw this menorah were the Kohanim, because they went into this place called the Holy. So they're the only ones that really saw it anyway. So other people that say it was different couldn't be. So if Rashi says it was straight and the Maimonides says it was straight, they certainly have what to rely on. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe points out that it says she's kanim, that there were sticks that came out. Kaneh is a stick that goes straight. In any case, whatever it was, this is how it looks. The reason that this is important is because, and the Rebbe had the thing about also about the tablets, that if like in a school, right, a Jewish school, so you have a picture of the menorah, and it's not accurate. The same thing the Rebbe pointed out with the 2 tablets of the covenant. According to absolutely no Jewish opinion in the world ever were they rounded on the top. They weren't rounded. They were square. According to all opinions, they were square. There is no even, how do you say, secondary, tertiary opinion that they were rounded. These are all ideas that come from the non-Jews, right? Michelangelo, or somebody drew a picture, he drew horns on Moses' head and drew the things around. So, oh, Michelangelo says he used the so he must have known what he's talking about. Doesn't know nothing. The same thing is also the rounded things. That comes from Titus. Titus, he destroyed the second temple. He's our rabbi. He's going to posek and tell us what it is. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so anyway, enough reasons why they were straight. Now they were straight. There was one in the center. It was straight, and there's 3 came out from each side. On the top were little bowls, and there were wicks, and these bowls were like slanted a little bit toward the middle. They were slanted a little bit toward the middle, and the wicks were in it. When you came in to what's called the Holy, it's called the Heichal also. It comes into the Heichal, also called Ohel Moed. You go in the Heichal. And so, according to the Rambam, when you came in, the menorah looked like this. It was facing you. In other words, the right and left it was facing you. According to all the other opinions, except for the Rambam, it was not facing you. It was vertical. According to what do you say? It ran along the wall. So this part was closest to you, and this part was closest to the Holy of Holies. And this was called the Western Light. It says the Western light had to be lit all the time. According to some, it was this one was the less one. But anyway, the western light was on this side, according to most of them. The Rambam says no. The Rambam, we're going to learn the law in just a moment. The Rambam says that when you came in, it was facing you, and this central one was tilted a little bit backwards, facing toward the Holy of Holies. Facing to the Holy of Holies. Of course, the Holy of Holies, you couldn't see it. There was a big veil right in front of it. So this is how it looked. And it would be lit, mainly it would be lit all night. They would light it, the last thing in the service of the day, they would light them up all night. So it would be lighted all night. What are all these bumps and triangles and things going on in this? Half circles. What's this going on? So if you make the menorah from gold, then it has to have all these ornaments on it. It has to have. If the ornaments are not on it, they have to be exactly the way it says in the Torah, then it's disqualified. But if you don't have any gold, it's okay to make the menorah from other materials. You can make it from wood, you can make it from tin, from silver, from whatever. I don't know if you can make it from iron. I have to look, because iron was sort of, the antithesis of everything that the Holy Temple stood for. But I have to look it up. In any case, it says you can make it from all these other, if you make it from any other metals or materials, except other than gold, then you don't have to have all these bumps and ornaments on it. But what are these bumps and these ornaments? So it says these are called gvi'im, cups. This is how Rambam, Maimonides drew it. His son, Rab Avram, he testified that this was accurate. His father said this is accurate. This is not exactly where they were placed. It's just to show how many there were. This is a little more accurate about where they were placed. Okay, but this is called cups, gvi'im. These he called kaftorim, buttons, the round ones, that represents the buttons. And these represent flowers, parachim. So it says that there was 3 cups on each one of the stems that came out to the side. But on this one, there was 3 cups on the top, and there was 1 cup over here, right? You'll see when we learn the law. Just, I don't want to keep jumping back and forth, because I don't, sometimes it doesn't come out. Okay, ready? So that's how the candelabra looked. And it's supposed to be made, if you make it from gold, it has to be made from 1 piece of gold. How you did that, I don't know, but they wouldn't make it a central piece and then stick these pieces onto it or weld it or something like that. They wouldn't do it. And it seems also these kaftorim, these ornaments, also had to be from the same piece of gold. Well, you had to be a real expert to do it. Let's learn the Rambam a little bit, and that will be today's class with God's help. Where is the 1 minute? This is it. Yes. Yes, here it is. Okay. The menorah. Because this is the 3rd chapter of from the first one we learned, the first chapter we learned generally about where the tabernacle was, how it traveled with them in the desert, and it came with them into the land of Israel, and it moved from place to place for 440 years, 369 of which was in a place called Shiloh, until finally King Solomon built the temple. And all of this time in the different, they were called tabernacles, 440 years before King Solomon built the temple, it was still in this basic same form. There was an outer courtyard where there was the big altar where they would burn up the sacrifices. And then there was the place called the Holy. That was where the candelabra was, the menorah was. And there was a golden altar, which we'll talk about that for incense. And there was also a place called the face bread, 12 loaves of face bread, which we'll talk about that, God willing, also tomorrow. That's the end of this week's Torah. And then there was the ark, that when the Holy of Holies, there was the ark. So, okay, so now we're learning about the menorah. Ready? HaMenorah. The menorah is explained in the Torah clearly. It says there were 4 gvi'im, 4 cups, 2 buttons, 2 flowers were on the stem of the menorah. And like it says, menorah arba geviim mishukadim kaf toreim of parachim. That's what it says in Parshas Ki. I'm sorry, give me a minute. Sometimes things skip my mind. Here we go. Truma. In Truma, Parshas Truma, in the book of Exodus. Kaftor and Parechem, and also it says Kaftor Shlishi was near the bottom of it, etc. There were 3 feet, right? Those were those ornaments that I showed you. There were 3 feet on it, and on it was also 3 buttons. On the menorah that came out, there were 6 stems coming out from the central pillar that we just talked about here. 3 on one side, 3 on the other side. On each and every one, there were also 3 cups and a button. So here we were talking about the central stick of the menorah. And here we're talking about the 3 that came out the left, 3 that came out to the right. And then there was also these ornaments, but they were a little bit different. There were 3 cups instead of 4 cups. There were 3 cups on one side and 3 cups on the other side. And there were also there was 1 button and 1 flower. And it says that they were meshukadim, means that they were ornamented. The picture that we saw, that they looked, just like little blocks, round those, that was simplified, just to show that there were, not to show the exact shape. So it comes out all together, all of these ornaments, which we said, the ones that looked like cups and the ones that looked like buttons and the ones that looked like flowers, all these ornaments, they were 22 cups, 9 flowers, and 11 buttons. All of them are necessary. If one of them is missing, then the whole thing is not any good. It's all disqualified. If you make it from gold, but if you make it from any other metals, then you don't have to put any of these flowers or etc. on them. And also the menorah, that number 1. Okay, also the menorah, if it comes from gold, it has to be from 1 block, which is called a kikar. All of the whole business is one thing with all the lights on it and all this. It has to be one. But if you make it from any other metals, then we're not so careful about making it from 1 unit. And also it can be hollow even. So the best is, of course, to make it from gold. But if you can't make it from gold, then it's okay with the others. Then there's not so many stipulations. You can never, in any case, you can never make the menorah from leftovers, from scraps of gold. It has to be made from a piece of gold that was singled out specially for this. Then there's all these accoutrements that they had, all these instruments that they had. There were like tweezers, and there was like some sort of a knives or something that would clean it out. And then also the bottles that held the oil. This was separate. This was not in the computation of this bar of gold that it had to be made from. Right? They were made of gold. They had to be made of gold, but they don't have to be from 1 piece and etc. Okay, these 7 stems of the menorah, they're necessary. If one of them breaks or if one of them missing or something, then it disqualifies the whole entire menorah. The whole entire, whether it's made of gold or anything else, there has to be 7 stalks. The 6 candles that were on the 6 branches that come out from the sides, they, like I said before, they were facing a little bit toward the middle one. They were facing a little bit, and it says why? To indicate that the menorah was not to give light. Rather, it was a testimony that God was there, because this western light, it remained lit all the time, and the other light. So it was a big miracle. but the middle one, that's called the middle one, because according to the Rambam, the menorah was facing the Kohen when he came in. In other words, it ran, how do you say, horizontally to the Kohen when he came in. So they had to have one of these candles that was closer to the Holy of Holies. And according to the way the Rambam said, they were all equidistant from the Holy of Holies. They ran, how do you say, perpendicular, whatever it is, to the. So therefore, one of them, the middle one, was slanted a little bit. It was near, and say, Panov Keneged, it had to be slanted a little bit toward the Holy of Holies. That's what's called the Western lamp. It says all these cups, the ornaments, talking about the ornaments, they were like Kosot Alexandria. What does it mean? They were shaped something like a triangle. In other words, they were wide on the top and they were narrow on the bottom. What about these buttons? We said what the buttons. What do the buttons look like? They sort of looked like an apple. Krutim, whatever it is, that they were a little bit sort of lengthened down like an egg. The two ends, they were like kadim, they were rounded a little bit. Okay, so the cups, they were very narrow at the bottom, wide on the top. The buttons, they were like sort of like, they weren't exactly round. They were a little bit egg-shaped. And the parachim and the flowers, these were like sort of like a bowl, but it was rounded off. The tops of them were rounded off on the top. So it was like sort of like the head of a trumpet, a little bit. That's how they looked. How high was this? It was 18 tefach. 18 tefach. He said this is a little bit over, let's see, 18 tefach. One tefach, let's say, is 6 amas. So it's 18 is like 3 amas. An amma is about 1.5 feet. So it's like 4.5 feet tall, this whole thing. Okay, he explains how it is, right? And according to that picture that we saw before. Should I show you the picture? I don't know if it'll come up, but I think it will. See, there was an empty space here and an empty space there. So if you add up all these, and this one here, how big this is, how big the empty space is, how big the empty space is between each one, and etc. So if you look at all of these and you measure them all, it comes out to be 18 tefachim high. A tefach is a handbreadth. Okay, there was a stone that was put in front of this menorah, and it had 3 steps on it. The Kohen would go up on these steps. Now, the whole thing was only, what did we say, about 4.5 feet tall. The whole entire thing was 4.5 feet tall. And if you count the base to it, so a little bit taller, but nevertheless, so the Kohen really could, I mean, there was no Kohen that was less than 4 feet tall, but you wanted to light it from above. So he would go up on this steps. There's one opinion that says, B'halotcha at the nerot, that he had to go up. So he went up on this thing to light the candles, and then he would go up. All right. And that is where we will finish today. With God's help, tomorrow we'll continue learning about the menorah, and we will talk about the face bread, the show bread, lechem apanim, with the 12 loaves of bread on it. Have a good day with Mashiach now. See you tomorrow at 8:15.